perfect. Make sure that we're good. Brink. Oh shit. Oh, okay. No, that's crazy. The NBA has a gambling.
Arrested and facing federal charges.
Man, so
We'll watch this.
Big box of Misfits Market. If you order a certain amount, you.
I just always really loved the name Richard, and I wanted a boy, but I had a girl, and I decided to name her Richard anyway.
There is nothing more embarrassing than
Bobby So it has been a while since we last talked about Bobby Althoff. Bobby obviously hit it big online with her parody of mommy blogger TikTok content.
Yes, I did name my daughter Richard. I just always really loved the name Richard, and I wanted a boy, but I had a girl, and I decided to name her Richard anyway.
there is nothing more embarrassing than walking around with one of these. Everyone knows how it got there. You know what you did.
So she was running it up over there, amassing a couple million followers, getting millions of plays per video, and making a couple of $100,000 per year.
I was making around like $250 to $300 a year.
Damn.
1,000
Yeah.
from brand deals
on TikTok.
Wow.
And 250 is great and all, but it's hard to come up with content with just me every day.
$250,000 a
Yeah.
year as an annual income is great and all.
Yes.
It is great.
It is
It's
great.
And this is where she claims that she parlayed that fame into her podcast fame.
Hi guys, welcome to the Really Good Podcast with your host Bobby Althoff.
And from episode 1, people suspected that she was an industry plant, mainly because she was immediately in bed with the 69 God, and was shortly
The 69 God.
after showing off Mark Cuban's disgusting Piggly Wigglies.
Ew, you nasty ass bastard!
Hey, bro, that's nasty.
Like, dude, you are a billionaire. You should have a personal foot washer.
I believe in my podcast, so I'm trying my best. I've had a few guests, some D-list celebrities.
And not only did that spark the industry plant rumors, but also within 1 week of launching her podcast, she had the top talent agency in the entire entertainment industry representing her and her brand. Landing celebrity guest after celebrity guest, it was very clear that her growth was far from organic. This was obviously something people called out immediately online, and also to her face.
I know.
You're not an industry plant, right?
I am, but
You do feel kind of planty. We do have the same manager, so is this?
I know, isn't that
planted?
crazy?
Feels a bit planty.
This is definitely
you got
like
you got
Luke.
here in 5 minutes. It took me 20 years.
Hey, it has been a minute.
What I think industry plant is, it's like somebody that has been like that is tied to someone else in the industry and uses those connections
Okay.
to capitalize, and they like have zero talent.
I'm not on anything.
Oh shit. Damn, straight called her out.
I don't have any talent.
Oh, what the hell's going on?
And she even admitted in a later interview that these comments broke her down mentally.
Based on what the comments are saying, and sometimes it's just constructive criticism. It can be a little mean, but yeah, it doesn't bother me too much.
And I really feel like
Why does her face look like that?
her and the Hawk Tua girl were basically on that same wavelength, and just as quickly as each rose, both equally as quickly fell off. I mean, at least
I'm
for
glad they're gone.
Hawk Tua, she had this massive scandal that derailed her career. You know, the whole scam in your fans with no remorse thing will kind of do that to you. But as for Bobby, I think that people really just got sick of her sarcastic, too cool to be here, one-trick pony bit.
Too cool
And when
to
she
be
would get in a
here.
room with someone like Offset, who read her like a book, she would be made foolish still trying to pull this act off.
You wanted to be on my podcast.
Why you keep saying that cap ass shit, man? I
Damn.
didn't even want to do this shit. I don't fucking do interviews.
Her face is like, damn. wait for it to get cold. Oh, this hears me. Damn, this hears me. No, she does not. She is blind as a bat. Alright. That is so funny. She's blind as a bat. Boom.
I'm fucking with you because they're making me. You need a little
they're making me.
seasoning. You ain't got no seasoning, man. You like a plain piece of chicken just on the thing. You pull it off, and then you serve the dish. You need some motherfucking seasoning, man.
You can leave now.
This is my hotel. I paid for this motherfucker. You can leave now.
Alright, they for real?
Beyond this, the main public ridicule that she faced outside the industry plant narrative was that she broke up her family to be in social circles with famous people.
That's true.
I flew all the way here
You did. I really do appreciate
on my
that.
daughter's first birthday.
I wasn't
Damn.
gonna bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
You missed your daughter's first birthday for
To
this.
be here.
Dark.
Dark.
Regret that you'll never be able to undo.
Yeah.
Horrible parenting.
Now, when Drake is calling you a
Drake, bro, shut up, bro. You're the last person to call somebody a horrible parent. Let's be real.
bad parent, you know you're doing something wrong. Speaking of Drake, by the way, the dude is so down bad that he's been in Bobby's comment section on Instagram begging her to unblock his name.
Embarrassing!
Either way, despite being married at the time of these early interviews, she was always asking these guests if they would smash her up.
Would you date someone that looks like me?
Huh?
Am I your type?
I'd do it.
I do it.
Thank you.
I mean, imagine being her husband seeing that shit. The guy did actually file for divorce around a month after the Drake episode dropped, leading to rumors that Drake gave her her initial initiation, if you know what I mean. Obviously, after this, she would gain the reputation that she was being passed around the industry. Ryan Garcia was chasing her around the room like it was his crush on the school playground. He would later confirm them hooking up during a Twitter rant. She was seen being drunkenly carried out of clubs, and even had this really embarrassing moment when she tried to do that thing where girls soft launch the guy they're dating, only to have it backfire after the FBI, that is social media, discovered that it was some NFL player and he completely denied being with her in the first place. This caused her to crash out on TikTok.
Just like hard to imagine finding someone who is truly good for you. It's hard to imagine there's a world where there's like someone who's actually meant for you. Dating is just hard, you guys. Like,
well, now Bobby has officially announced that she will be ending her podcast, which is surprising to me considering she was still getting decent guests and views in the hundreds of thousands occasionally.
She's not gonna end it.
But obviously, when you compare this to her peak where she was getting at least 1 million views per podcast and like these top level guests, it had been looking pretty rough. I mean, no one really knew these people she was now interviewing, and when she was doing solo episodes, there were not many views at all. But either way, she hosted like a funeral for her podcast.
Hi guys, welcome to the Really Good Podcast. All jokes aside, all honesty, this is the last episode. In honor of the last episode, my sister and I are going to sing a song. I heard there was a secret chord.
They're so stupid.
That David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? And it goes like,
Hear me and hear me good, nigga. I'm here to double down. That shit is a 2-pack of ass.
Yeah, I totally have no idea why this podcast fell out of favor. Now, regardless of all of that, Even up until last year, someone was funneling money into her career, trying to make her a thing, trying to get her some positive PR with Business Insider and other entities that are known to take money to do interviews or think pieces on celebrities.
The Really Good Podcast. She was a great podcast.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Did you know that Mint's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back?
Got me this house.
Probably gonna make another podcast.
Got me the car I drive. She got me a lot of stuff, and she was really great. I really did appreciate her for the time I had with her. And she brought me a lot of memories and a lot of great guests. I will miss doing this podcast, and I will miss the money this podcast brought me.
Now, over time, it has been abundantly clear that from the start, this was all about money and fame to Bobby.
Oh, for sure.
Who straight up admitted that even when she was young, that was her main aspiration in life.
Mentally decided that she made like at least $300 a year on her podcast alone, and I was like, that's what I need to do next. Like, I need a podcast.
How'd you become an influencer or creator?
Just wanting to make money.
It's like she in general represents a microcosm into our society and how social media has warped people's minds.
I hope that I go from D-list
No, for real.
to A-list. That's my goal in 10 years.
From D-list to A-list.
Yes.
I feel like over the last 2 to 3 years,
D-list to A-list, well, she felt miserably.
Specifically, I've noticed a change in the way that women in particular present themselves online. And I'll say specifically on Instagram, where there's this sense that they think they are someone famous or a spectacle to be admired, and I find that shit hilarious. And I'm talking about like an everyday regular girl with 500 followers acting like her shit don't stink. I mean, people in general are just so much more narcissistic than ever before due to social media, or I guess I should say they are desperate for online validation in a way that was viewed as cringy during the early days of social media.
As you guys know, this podcast started off just with a girl with a dream to make more money. And I knew when I started that it was going to go places. I didn't know I would fall off as quickly as I did, to be honest. I did think that
What the fuck?
it was going to last a bit longer. But nevertheless, it lasted a minute, and I'm proud of the accomplishments I have, and I'm pretty sad that it has to end like this, but it's okay.
I mean, hey, shout out to her for being able to acknowledge the fall
For at least she's acknowledged
off and the fact that she loves money.
fell
She
off.
did run about 10 ads in this podcast, and the
course.
entire episode in general just seemed like a money grab, where she says, remember when I did this podcast, remember when I did that podcast.
And I will never forget the moment he told me that I was like unseasoned chicken.
It was basically like one of those filler episodes where they just show a bunch of flashbacks from the show. You know, the one you always skip. She really just cycles through all the interviews.
The
She
ones that
plays
you really
a
skip.
clip and moves on, periodically throwing another ad in your face. And I do have a sneaking suspicion that this might just be the pre-launch of some other show that she wants to
That's what I just said.
now do. But this is how she ends her show.
Just any final words for the podcast?
She really fell off.
It's probably gonna be the new podcast name. She really fell off.
Happened. People said I was falling off, and they were right. So now it's dead. You guys got what you wished for. You wanted it to be over. It's over. It's gone. It's not there anymore. And now, I don't know what we're gonna do.
I don't know, I just feel like someone who loves being
She's lying.
around famous people and rising up the social ranks as she does would not just give it up. It's actually my guess, considering that this episode was posted on the very last day of July, and with these various sponsors riddled into this crock of crap, is that this was only made to meet obligations to them, as when you agree to these deals they usually have allotted time slots of when you will post their ad. And I just cannot see very many people, even if they are a genuine fan of this show, watching the entire thing. And let me just say, the comment section on this video is not exactly what you would expect from a send-off. I mean, it was almost like it was a mixture of good riddance, they were sick of the ads, and then just a bunch of comments about how she left her family
for this, by the way,
to pursue this. Either way, it looks like this is the end of the Bobby era. Honestly, I think that she would have made more money and had more longevity online in the parody blogger space. But I guess it's a good lesson that sometimes it's better to rise up slow than to just jump on a rocket and burn out. Either way though, I want to know what you guys think about this decision by Bobby down below. Do you think there was some sort of hand in the background telling her, no, you're not...
She's not gonna be gone. Let's be for real.
Queso might be the biggest crash out in the history of the rap game. And today we're breaking down how he got cooked in his trial and will never be coming home again. The opening statement started with the prosecutor breaking down the war in Jacksonville for the jury.
6 Block and ATK are rivals. They don't like each other.
Queso's gotta be like the biggest self-snitcher ever.
They hate each other. And one of the traditions of both groups is producing rap music, drill rap, diss songs that make fun of or talk disrespectfully about members of their ops, the other group.
Drill fans know that Young and Ace and Fulio went to war and tore up the streets, but the lawyer broke it down piece by piece.
Now it's just Young and Ace.
And told him that Queso murdered Lil Buck for Get Back. 1 year after Queso's brother Boss Goon got killed, Queso and his cousin Scotty went sliding on the ops on the anniversary of Queso's brother's death. That's when they spotted Lil Buck. When Lil Buck went to his whip, Queso popped out and shot him till he fell down. Then, while Lil Buck was bleeding on the pavement, Queso stood over him and shot Lil Buck in the head.
Damn.
Make sure the jury knew how brutal the situation really was. The prosecutor described how Lil Buck's teeth and brains were splattered all over the parking lot.
Slashing open his flesh. Hot metal ripping through his muscles. Hot metal blowing open his skull. Flesh, brain matter.
Hold on.
You're still purchasing your lenses from your optometrist?
What are you doing? Come on!
Even
Queso, make your face go.
Sent flying through the air.
There are a lot of insane parts of the Queso trial, but one of the craziest things is when the lawyer brought up what Queso told an op right before he pulled the trigger on Lil Buck. When Queso and Scotty saw Lil Buck park his whip and go into a building, they waited for him to come out. And while they were waiting, Queso FaceTimed one of Lil Buck's homies and told him, "We caught your boy slipping." Then a few minutes later, Queso hopped out and left Lil Buck's brains on the ground.
Using Instagram on his phone, he
Dumbass.
contacts Raekwon Howard. Raekwon Howard, who is
And then he posted another Instagram story. Paint my nails. Killer. And get my nails done.
with 6 Block. They're ops. Tells him, got one of your boys slipping. Let him know they're getting ready to take somebody out, but doesn't say who.
The defense team opened up by trying to make the witness sound sketchy.
You're gonna hear from Barbara Buckley, and I'll tell you up front, I think you'll like her. She's feisty. No one pulls anything over her eyes. And she's gonna walk in and she's gonna honestly talk to you about that morning.
Queso's homie Dominique Barner and his own dad Blue flipped on him, but the defense didn't want the jury to believe anything they said. Queso crashed out in public in front of a bunch of cameras, and he got caught running around with the gun he used to kill Lil Buck with. The defense tried to argue that Queso was way bigger than the dude on the cameras, but Queso had photos all over social media that prove he fit the description of the shooter. After Queso killed Lil Buck, he hopped in a whip with Scotty and Dominique Barner, and they took off with the cops right behind him. They ended up crashing the whip, and that's when Queso split off from them. He ran through some woods and ended up in another neighborhood, and that's when someone spotted him popping out of the woods and getting picked up by a woman while the police sirens were going off everywhere.
A car approaching us, right coming the way we were sitting.
And what was it?
Of course they had to crash because they're lions.
It was a lady driving, holding a cell phone. She looked lost, like she was looking for something.
Queso had called a woman named Natalie to come pick him up, and her testimony on the stand helped the prosecutors make their final decision. The defense tried to argue that Queso wasn't the dude who popped out of the woods, but Natalie confirmed that Queso came out of the woods, and that's when she picked him up.
Where did you have to go to pick Hakeem up?
Up Arlington Expressway and some apartments.
And how did you know where to go?
I believe Kareem said it, or I don't know if there was a thing on his phone with a map. That I cannot remember.
Natalie definitely didn't help Queso's case, but one of the biggest witnesses was his homie Dominique Barner. Dominique Barner helped Scotty break into a house and kidnap a woman after they crashed the whip.
He was the driver.
He was facing some crazy charges. Even after he pleaded guilty and agreed to testify, Dominique Barner was still facing 20 years in prison. Dominique confirmed that ATK was a gang and that Queso and Scotty both repped the set.
Are you familiar with a local rap group called ATK?
Yes, sir.
Was Abdul Robinson Jr., Kareem, part of ATK?
Yes, sir.
What about Hakeem Robinson?
Yes, sir.
Leroy Whitaker?
Yes, sir.
Thorgon Williams?
Yes, sir.
Then Dominique testified about all the diss tracks and the real violence that was going on in the streets. According to Dominique, Lil Buck dropped a diss track on Queso's brother Boss Goon, and that's why Queso wanted to take him out.
If you know, what does the lyric "smoking on Willie" mean?
You smoking on a dead person.
Is that a good thing?
That's a bad thing.
No, that's a bad thing.
Was, excuse me, Abdul Robinson Jr., Kareem, aware of this song?
Yes, sir.
What about Hakeem Robinson?
Yes, sir.
Leroy Whitaker?
Yes, sir.
Were they upset over that song?
Yes, sir.
Dominique Barner actually DM'd Lil Buck after the track dropped and told him to stop dissing. And then Dominique looked up Lil Buck's address and found out what kind of whip he was driving. Dominique, Queso, and Scotty pulled up to the apartment building where Lil Buck lived. But the reason they didn't kill him immediately is because Lil Buck went on vacation and wasn't in the city.
Once you found out where Charles McCormick lived in December of 2019, why wasn't he killed right away?
Because he took a vacation.
Charles took a vacation?
Yeah.
They found
to Vegas.
Out that Lil Buck was back from vacation, and that's when Dominique, Queso, and Scotty went sliding again. They drove to Lil Buck's crib and waited for hours till he came outside. Then they followed him when he drove off. When Lil Buck got to the shopping mall and went inside a building, Queso, Scotty, and Dominique sat in the whip and waited. Dominique confirmed that's when Queso FaceTimed one of their ops and let them know they caught one of their homies lacking. Then Queso popped out and ran Lil Buck down.
What happened after Hakeem jumped out of Nissan?
Shot at him.
Shot at who?
After they crashed their whip and took off running, Dominique and Scotty broke into a woman's house and started looking for different clothes they could change into and wait for the situation to cool down. They didn't know a woman was inside the crib though, and when she came in and told them they had to leave, Dominique and Scotty choked her and held her hostage so she couldn't scream for help. Then Scotty made some calls, and Queso's dad Blue was the one who came through and picked him up. One of the craziest parts of the whole story is that Queso's dad Blue ended up flipping on his son and taking a stand.
Fucking dumb, man. Can't make that shit up.
Blue was facing charges in some other cases, but he thought testifying against Queso would help him get less time. The prosecutors are trying to prove that the Lil Buck hit was give back for Queso's brother Boss Goon, and that Queso's dad Blue was there when Boss Goon got killed. Blue was driving the whip when some shooters rolled up and aired it out, and Blue testified about holding Boss Goon's hand while he died in the car.
As I was driving, I could, hear Willie making this guggling noise, and I hold his hand while I was driving, because I didn't want him to die, feel like he died alone.
Blue's other son, Abdul Robinson Jr., was also in the car when his brother Boss Goon got killed. He's also facing a murder charge for Lil Buck, but his trial's gonna be separate, and Blue's probably gonna testify in that case too. Blue testified that Lil Buck was affiliated with 6 Block and had beef with Queso and everyone else in ATK. After Blue picked up Scotty and Dominique Barner from the house they broke into, he drove them behind Burger King so they could burn the clothes they wore on the hit. Dominique and Scotty told Blue what happened, and he decided to help him out a little bit so they could get away with it. But after Blue got booked and was facing charges, he flipped completely and admitted in court that Queso was the one who pulled the trigger on Lil Buck.
Who is the person that was captured on the video recording shooting Charles McCormick?
My son.
What's your son's name?
Hakeem.
Testifying against your own son is wild, but this wasn't the first time Blue snitched in court. Back in the 90s, he cooperated with the feds against the cop, and then he started working as a confidential informant for the cops. Blue was also wrapped up in another case, but since he decided to plead guilty for accessory after the fact and flip on
job for those that say they're gangsters.
So he's only facing 20 years in prison instead of life. The prosecutors had witnesses, snitches, and DNA evidence to prove Queso was guilty, but Queso also self-snitched like crazy after he killed Lil Buck. Queso is also facing murder charges for killing Fulio's homie Lil Bibby, and right now, his reaction to finding out he got charged for that is going viral all over the place.
You do have a warrant for your arrest.
We have a warrant for your arrest for murder today.
What?
Yes.
This guy, you want
your lawyer, so I can't tell you no more, but you'll be in trouble.
What the hell?
Come on.
Queso self-snitched about Bibby constantly until he got booked for the Lil Buck murder, but a lot of people didn't even know he self-snitched about Lil Buck too. Queso even dropped the track Bang It Out and showed off the gun he used to kill Lil Buck and posted photos with the same strap. After the Lil Buck hit went down, Queso went to get a
Brought a whole jersey with Lil Bibby on it, come on.
And made a post where he said, "Kill a nigga, then get my toes done." And one of the most viral parts of the trial was when the lawyers quoted the post.
Kill a nigga, then go get my toes done. Then go get my toes.
Queso's like, I said that.
Those are his words that he attached to a video.
When the trial was over, everyone knew that Queso and Scotty were cooked. The defense didn't really have anything to fight back against all the evidence, so Queso and Scotty both went down for murder, and Queso's reaction is blowing up on social media. Then after it was all over, Queso posted a story on IG and tried to say that the jury
Come on, bro.
Against
Your
him,
attorney's white.
they were all white, and so was the judge. Queso crashed out and got flipped on by everybody, and there was almost no way he was going to beat the trial. The cops had DNA, videos, witnesses, and Queso's own self-snitching to use against him, and now he's facing life in prison. And what makes the situation even worse, his own self-trial. The cops had DNA, videos, witnesses, and Queso's own self-snitching to use against him, and now he's facing life in prison. And what makes the situation even worse is that Queso is still gonna have to fight the Lil Bibby case. So even if he appealed the Lil Buck conviction and won, there's a good chance he's gonna catch another life sentence for allegedly killing Lil Bibby. Queso self-snitched a lot about Lil Buck, but it was nothing compared to what he did after he allegedly killed Lil Bibby. Queso gets a sentence handed down for the Lil Buck case in September 2025, and after that, he's got a whole new murder trial to worry
Stupid, like, did all this to look cool, now your friends are gone.
about.
You're fucked for life. Fuck for life.
This is about to be the most profitable 60 seconds of your life.
July 28th, 2025.
Uh-oh.
A courthouse within...
I find...
Going back to...
This influencer, who many are now referring to as a crypto scammer, just got exposed for exploiting his friendship with one of the biggest streamers in the world, then throwing him under the bus. The only issue is there's been a history of him building a career off of dirty money, and this exact practice is what ended with him stepping down as CEO from FaZe. So this is Banks, the CEO, or well now ex-CEO of a massive gaming organization by the name of FaZe Clan. And as of the other day, messages were leaked that show that he actively took part in what many people are calling a huge crypto scam, and he exploited his friend Aiden Ross in the process. He also announced that he would be stepping back from FaZe Clan entirely.
He's always been doing this dumb shit.
And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that he didn't realize this was coming with the way he's been moving over the span of his career, because obviously there is a lot to unpack here, so let's start with the basic backstory. So as previously stated, Ricky, or Banks, was the CEO and co-founder of the gaming organization by the name of FaZe Clan. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this video grew up watching these guys, so I don't really think I have to go too much into detail here. But long story short, FaZe Clan started as a Call of Duty trickshotting team that spiraled into a massive worldwide brand that has worked and helped grow some of the largest social media personalities in the world. However, FaZe and FaZe Banks have had quite a few controversies since the beginning. Allegedly, back in 2015, FaZe Banks and a handful of others co-owned a Counter-Strike gambling site called CSGO Wild. From reports, this site earned up to $200,000 a day. And you're probably thinking, well, that seems fine, but he never declared that he was owner until 2020. So essentially, he spent 4 years denying that he was a part of it. And this likely had a lot to do with the backlash that T. Martin and Syndicate got from being a part of making a similar Counter-Strike gambling site called CSGO Lotto. Obviously, this turned into a massive legal and PR nightmare for them, but they ended up settling and essentially getting away with a slap on the wrist in the eyes of the law. But in the online communities, it's safe to say they took a pretty big hit to their careers for a while at least. Even though, at least back in that day, CSGO and CSGO gambling was extremely normalized within the gaming communities. But Banks finally admitted that he was an owner in 2020 of CSGO Wild. He explained that his motivation behind CSGO Wild was making enough money to purchase the CSGO team. So alongside with other FaZe members, they promoted the site with clear knowledge that Banks owned it. But then to somehow make things worse, the site failed to use a provable fair system. And that they were actually publicly outed for by various sources for manipulating the outcomes of the bets. Then on top of that, they allegedly didn't pay the site designer. So not only did they promote gambling to kids, but they also allegedly scammed a kid in the process. So clearly, this is not a good look. The CSGO Wild TLDR is allegedly a lot of FaZe members, including Banks, who allegedly owned the site, promoted an illegal gambling website to their child audience. They got them to spend their money, and then they also allegedly rigged the odds in their favor. TDM Hazes actually made a great video covering this topic, and I'll be linking that video in the description down below. But moving on after that, this started a whole new era of FaZe. Banks had a pretty viral crash out on
Scammer FaZe
Snapchat of him in Europe. Many claimed this was due to substance abuse problems after falling into an unimaginable amounts of money from CSGO Wild. But he ended up very publicly leaving FaZe here.
I'm not joking on Twitter. I'm being 100% serious. And I'm happy with my decision. If you want to delete me on Snapchat, if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you want to hate me, do it all, man. Just keep that negative away. That's it. Goodbye. I'm getting so many tweets about the Tattoo. The tattoo is on my body forever. I'm glad it's on my body forever. FaZe was the coolest time of my life. FaZe out.
And here's the more formal tweet that he posted about this move back in 2016. But most of the FaZe guys, they ended up moving out to LA. And Banks also ended up moving to LA a little bit later, starting the Clout House with Rice Gum and Alyssa Violet. Meanwhile, at this time, FaZe got connected with a shady, at best, Norwegian
Rice Gump, another scammer.
entrepreneur. And this guy is known for lying a lot, to put it lightly, within the Norwegian esports scene. But clearly, he's a smooth talker, and after meeting one of the founding members on FaZe on a plane and lying to him about who he knew, FaZe decided to move forward and bring him into the company. This guy was an absolute nightmare for FaZe. He allegedly ended up scamming the FaZe guys in multiple ways. First, from what I've heard, he ended up pitching them the startup of his. He ended up raising a bunch of money from the internal FaZe group, then nothing came from that startup. Some members even threw him hundreds of thousands of dollars towards this startup. And then you have the second thing, which many can refer to as a scam, is by the way he influenced FaZe, which eventually turned the company into a pump and dump for private equity that got their big cash out after FaZe Clan was SPAC'd out onto the stock market. And I'm not sure
didn't they become like a public trade market?
If he was actually still involved or had shares when they finally SPAC'd and went onto the public market. But I do know he asked a FaZe member while that FaZe member was in the hospital if his wife could borrow his car. But fun fact though, from what I know, none of the original FaZe Clan members made money from FaZe going live on the stock market, as they couldn't sell because their shares were locked up. But after the stock market hit, that was kind of towards the end of Big FaZe, at least, because it all came down collapsing after that, because the company was burning way more money than they could ever earn. And the stock essentially dropped 99%. And Big FaZe Clan doesn't exist, by the way. It's just what I'm calling the bloated private equity version of FaZe that basically everyone within the community was not a fan of. Now, you still have a private equity version of FaZe, but this one is very different from what was running it in 2019, 2020, 2021, and so on. But obviously, other things happened during that time that hurt the reputation of both FaZe Clan and Banks, like the Tfue contract, where FaZe Clan drafted a very unfair, exploitative contract that they could take up to 80% of the revenue from his brand deals.
Damn.
And that became public after Tfue sued FaZe Clan in 2019. And what's so interesting about this is like the 80-20 split between creators and talent agencies,
80-20.
That's very normal. Except it's 80% to the creator, 20% to the agency. This is opposite. This was 20% to Tfue, 80% to FaZe Clan.
To the FaZe Clan.
Now,
crazy.
from everyone I've talked to, FaZe never like executed on that contract. They never actually held that contract to the state, aka they never took the 80% cut from his deals. But obviously the elephant in the room here is they could if they wanted to, and that's a massive problem. And many people blame Banks here for this, but I don't think he had anything to do with it at all. I would be looking at Seabass way before I would be looking at Banks when it comes to this stuff. Even though that Seabass would just be a cog in the massive machine that was the bloated private equity version of FaZe back then. But what I will say is Banks was definitely at fault with his involvement with Banks Social, because in May of 2021, Banks tweeted in support of this project called Banks Social, calling it in quote, "a project I F with heavily and truly believe this is the next one to pop." He then ran a $10,000 giveaway with that project, which obviously caused the token to pump, then immediately dump right after. Banks then deleted the tweets, got called out for it, then claimed that he never sold any of his B Social tokens and that he didn't participate in any pump and dump. And I mean, that's cool and all, but he should have also understood how irresponsible that was to begin with. Then you also had the whole Save the Kids situation, because in June
Save the Kids
2021, multiple FaZe members promoted a crypto coin that was promoted as a charity. However, immediately after launching the coin, it crashed by over 90%. People immediately started looking at the transactions on the blockchain and very soon after realized that the members were directly involved. FaZe and Banks were quickly to distance themselves from this whole scandal and claim they had zero involvement or knowledge of the scam. And from what I can tell, this is still true. These members who did this were fired and kicked immediately. But another thing I wanted to quickly add, as I mentioned earlier, revolving FaZe Clan and Big FaZe, because in 2022, FaZe became a public traded company, essentially meaning that the company's ownership could be distributed with the general public. If you ask anyone about FaZe around this time, they would say something around the lines of FaZe became corporate. This is in reference to the bloated private equity version of FaZe I've been talking about. But obviously the massive problem with that was the same uniqueness that made FaZe what it is essentially gone. And only a year later, the stock had completely collapsed, causing the former CEO to get terminated. FaZe was then acquired by GameSquare Holding, which ended up later on appointing Banks as FaZe's new CEO. And this was after Banks bought a 25% ownership into FaZe Media for $9.5 million. And what's important here is he bought into ownership into FaZe Media for $9.5 million. And what's important here is he bought into FaZe Media, not their esports side of the business. So why is this relevant? Well, Banks rebranded FaZe, brought on a new generation of FaZe talent.
Dude, this dude's been there forever.
Moved them into a stream house and tried to make this like new age version of the old FaZe house. And I would say all around, that was a massive success for FaZe. But unfortunately, that was only one of 2 streamer houses that he started. He also had this other group called Probably Nothing. And here you have a handful of other members. Frank D-Gods, Thread Guy, OG Shoots, Rasmer. I think that was everyone. I could be missing some. But some of them are relevant because of what happens later on in this video. And overall, Probably Nothing, I think, turned into being way more of a headache than what it was worth it for Banks. Because you constantly had moments like this on various live streams.
Banks bought today, and Banks is always early. Wow. Think about that's the simple science. Wow. Right? Banks bought Goat and Zero Bro today.
Banks is always early.
Your boys by Zero Bros and
Banks is always early.
Banks is always early. So what you guys do the math?
Because if anything, a lot of their live streams just made them come across as
they're douchey.
Very shady, to put it lightly. And it also really did not help that a lot of stuff they were buying and hyping up on their live streams kind of turned into what their name was, Worth Probably Nothing. But you may have seen these people in the stream with Aiden Ross while he bought the meme coin MLG. And I guess you would also see them in that leaked Hawktua episode where they were trying to like do damage control for a Hawktua girl. But the latter is kind of irrelevant. It's the stream with Aiden and these Probably Nothing guys that got us here in the situation today. Because what a lot of people may be asking is, WTF is MLG coin? Well, MLG stands for Major League Gaming, which originally started with hosting Halo and Smash Bros. Tournaments. It actually became the first televised esports league in 2006. And eventually they added Call of Duty, StarCraft, and League of Legends to its programming before it was finally acquired by Activision Blizzard. And like many things that touched that company, it was all downhill from there. At least for the company. Online culture, they had other plans. They took its branding and merged it with satirical gaming culture, and then you had people like Snipers, Pyrocynical, and Roman, and many others that repopularized the MLG name alongside of Mountain Dew, Doritos, Hit Markers, Joints, and Snoop Dogg. And it's safe to say that that ran its course until the cow was completely milked dry by late 2016, early 2017, and that's at a stretch. So fast forward like what, 7 or 8 years until crypto hell. A website called Pump Fund launched, where any moron could launch their own crypto token with just a few clicks. And someone launched a coin called MLG. And this is clearly not associated to Major League Gaming, Activision Blizzard, or any of the original MLG montage YouTubers. Banks, for some reason, I guess, saw this bundled coin and decided that he was going to make this his identity and shill it pretty aggressively. And this is even though it was extremely bundled. According to Bubble Maps here, more than 25% of the supply was in control by a handful of people by the time Banks started buying into it. So here's a screenshot of the wallets in control of MLG coin the days he was buying it to begin with. And obviously, I know for any normal person looking at this, you're probably like, what
the fuck is that?
So, TLDR, this is a normal wallet. TLDR, this is a normal wallet. And this is someone or a group of people who has spread out their tokens between a whole bunch of wallets, trying to make it look like they don't own as much of the token as they really do. That right there is called a bundle or a cluster, which will become important later on in this video. And fast forward a few months, Aiden, obviously still upset about this situation, had a rant about it on stream, but he didn't mention Banks directly.
MLG is up, you're good. Ban him out of my chat. Aladog, you're a sucking beast, bro. All those crypto kids, they're nowhere to be found, bro. They stole millions of dollars from innocent people, bro. We don't see about them anymore, hang around them anymore. They're nowhere to be found, bro. Them. What the f have they been on, bro? They're like hiding away somewhere underground. It's f***ing insane, bro. They bought like bunkers and shit.
So obviously, Banks was called a scammer by a bunch of people because he stupidly made a coin his identity and kept promoting it to his followers. He was also the one who brought this coin to both Aiden Ross and his fans. And one day, I guess he just broke and sent this really weird message to the MLG chat blaming Aiden Ross for for the reason it collapsed. Aiden Ross effed this up. This community dumped on him buying, used him as exit liquidity. His ego got hurt, blamed Frank. Him and Frank got into it privately. Aiden despises Frank and spins and drives a narrative about Frank selling. Somehow this falls on me and the threads to farm. The whole situation spins into me selling and dumping coins. When I ran this thing up from $3 million to $200 million, organically, top blasted multiple times, invested a F ton of money, and never ever ever sold. The only bad actor in this entire thing is Aiden. Point blank, period. Hold up, what? Why would you ever say this about your friend that you convinced to buy? The only reason Aiden was in this project is because you flew out to Florida and had him buy and on stream. What is going on here? So obviously Banks got a lot of backlash for that, so he responds with, "I've never scammed anyone a day in my life. The entire narrative is unfair, and a part of the reason it exists is cause my FaZe name is so easily farmed and manipulated. The fact this is affecting the guys at all is whack, so for the time being, I'm gonna be stepping away from not only FaZe, but all of this internet. It's destroying my life inside and out. Sucks my entire life gets ruined over something I didn't even do. The real ones know. I wish I could say I'll be back, but I really don't know if I will." Okay, so that tweet has since been deleted. But an old roommate,
of course, he's always deleting tweets.
And teammate of his, FaZe Rain, chimed in with this.
I mean, I saw a lot what Banks said. I saw the way he's going about defending himself, but one thing I haven't seen him say is if those DMs are real or not, what he said in the chat. It seems like he's kind of dancing around that topic. Like we all make mistakes, but it's all about taking accountability for a lot of stuff, right? It's like, hey bro, like I said that, my fault, I was wrong. I threw you under the bus when, you know, I should take blame for that. I made that stream happen. Like, bro, I genuinely couldn't believe it when I saw that message, especially like the way it was worded. When I read that shit at the end saying there's only one bad actor in this and it's Aiden, I was like, what the like that was a crazy thing to read, right?
And then to make things even worse, the guys behind the MLG coin claims Banks tried to cut them out several times and take control of the project. So that shows he had a lot more, or tried to have a lot more to do with the project than what he was leading on to. And then some loose allegations towards Aiden Ross's manager started to come out, claiming that Aiden Ross's manager used to work with FaZe for many years. And then they provided some out of context clip of Aiden saying that the manager owed Aiden money for all this Banks stuff.
Bob, you owe me money for the crypto with Banks, where someone tried to impersonate Banks and you vouched.
So how out of context that is, I'm not sure, but it does become relevant later on in this video. But Aiden then responded to this whole situation by saying the Banks screenshot is real. Sad. If you guys think that MLG being rugged was me, I'm sorry to tell you it wasn't. There's a reason that entire house is silent. Truth will come out eventually. I'm just more hurt on the fact someone I call my brother is behind my back. So obviously, Banks then got even more backlash. So then he went back to Twitter and he said, for the time being, I'm going to be stepping away from not only FaZe, but all the internet. It's destroying my life inside and out. FaZe Rug ironically had
bro just disappears. He's gonna take a nap.
Absolutely.
He's gonna do a pool hop tour.
Nothing to do with that though. That's just a very unfortunate name in today's crypto age. Banks did go on to Aiden Ross's stream where he had plenty of things to say. And watching this stream is honestly kind of crazy because I'm shocked at how easy it was for Banks to just direct this conversation with Aiden. Like there was zero pushback from Aiden here at all. Because I'm pretty sure the whole thing was supposed to be Aiden confronting Banks about what happened, but instead Banks just kind of sweet talks and gaslights him for an hour, and it's almost like Aiden just kind of bought it, or at least he did so while on call.
Yeah.
How did we get in this mess, man?
You got everyone in this mess. What are you talking about, dude?
And it just started from you speaking, behind my back.
No, I know. We'll get to the text. Obviously, I'm just saying. Me and you have known each other for how long?
Years. We have a lot of history together.
Years and years and years. We live together. We could talk to each other about anything. Me and you have had one issue between each other our entire lives, the entire time knowing you. What is it?
What? I don't know.
MLG.
Oh.
This whole MLG thing. The only time me and you have had any weird energy, all this weird back and forth, the miscommunications, the talking between Tav, has been over the stream that we did 6 months ago. And this whole narrative around Frank and everybody in that room scamming people. And for the last 6 months, Frank's been getting farmed to be some kind of scammer. This MLG thing goes to zero. It looks horrible on everybody involved. I am the only person with any sort of namesake. Me and you have a real relationship. So now a narrative forms where it's like I'm scamming. It makes it look weird between me and you. Me and you get on the phone. You tell me, I know you're not scamming. I know you're not scamming. But then these clip pages are posting, Banks is scamming, Banks is scamming. Bro, this thing spirals to the point where I fall for bait. I post in this chat. You read it. It was a whack message. I should have just called you again. But I just feel like the story and all the details of it haven't been properly represented. And everybody involved feels that way.
Okay, so I'm kind of confused in why he didn't immediately apologize for bringing both Aiden and his community into this awful investment. Then
Basically saying, why'd you make me look
somehow blame Aiden for everything. Either Banks is a moron for doing this, or he's pretending to be a moron. Like, he flew out to Florida with a bunch of crypto bros to convince one of the largest streamers in the world, who has an extremely active and pretty young audience, to buy a low-cap meme coin. How did he ever think this was going to go over well? Banks is essentially the wolf in sheep's clothing, bringing all the sheep to the other wolves here, because this would be a disaster no matter what. We've already established with bubble maps, the coin was heavily bundled when Banks got into it, so it's not like it would be too different from when he got Aiden into it. So either way, the supply was in control by very few people. What I do want to say though is, I have not been able to find any wallets tied to Banks that have taken profits or sold off any of this MLG coin. I also contacted Bubble Maps about
the wrong time too.
this, and they have not been able to verify anything either as of the recording this video. So at least for now, it doesn't look like Banks used MLG coin to make money. If anything, it seems like he lost not only money on it, but also a lot of career reputation here. So I'm leaning to the side that Banks was just being a moron here, and they really thought this coin was going to go into the multiple billions of dollars, and that they would all make money somehow.
Listen, let me put it into context for everybody. And this is all facts. Aiden, fact check me or not, call me out, whatever. I mean, after the last 48 hours, what we've gone through together, we all know where we're at, and we all know what facts are facts. Facts?
What does that even mean, dude?
What does that
We fly to do a crypto stream. All of us, right? You expressed interest in buying MLG. Do you remember what I said on that? The VOD should still exist. Do you remember what I said when people started talking about buying it on stream? Do you remember what I said?
I don't. I didn't watch the stream. I haven't watched the stream back.
Somebody go find the VOD and clip it if you want. I said not to buy it on stream. You remember that?
Yeah, I watched that entire stream and I did not hear him say that.
The moment you bought it on stream, the truth is the community dumped the coin. It doesn't even logically make sense that anyone in that room dumped the coin. It doesn't make sense. Our wallets trading it are public with millions of dollars in it. Why would we give that up? Why would we start dumping it live on stream to lose millions of dollars? It doesn't even logically make sense, first of all.
Okay, he put himself in this really bad situation because obviously we can see he didn't sell until the other day. But also, sadly, it's almost impossible for us to verify if he had any other alt wallets, if he had decent wallet hygiene. So either way, this should be the biggest wake-up call for all influencers to never endorse or market any microcap. They are microcap, honestly. Any microcap projects, especially if the only use case of the project is number of investment go up. That's a Ponzi, and it's 100% a certifiable way to destroy your reputation.
You never thought I scammed you anyways, period. It was always between the other guys. That's what you always said.
I will say this, yes. I thought I was under the impression, because people were telling me that I got scammed by the other people in the room. Yes, that's what I...
And by the way, that's completely and entirely fair. And then I'm stuck in a spot where nobody gives a to farm these kids' names. So it's FaZe Banks and his crypto friends are scamming Aiden Ross. You understand what my position in it? Obviously, like where I'm at there?
It's because you're affiliated, and I understand.
Yes. Okay, so I get looped in. Unironically, you marked the top.
Yeah, so here he just kind of admitted that he brought the sheep into their final destination with that stream.
You and I have had a weird relationship for the past 6 months, to be honest.
Facts. We've been talking through Tav. We've been not.
And the meme coin money, which is also pretty much gambling money as well. Dirty money. Because this led a dude who's in the top 0.1% of net worth in the world to throw a friend that he calls a day one friend and family under the bus. That's dirty no matter what you call it, because this is why I'm saying he built and destroyed his career off of dirty money.
How we fell in this in the first place is I fell for bait. I read into a tweet, you scammed your friend Aiden Ross, you piece of... This kid had MLG in his name. So I went into the MLG chat. I said, yo, I'm just going to let you guys all know. I'm about to sell this whole fucking thing. I've held this thing to zero. And I got people in this community saying like this and just went off, threw you under the bus. Honestly, dude, say whatever you want. If they want you to rip me apart and you're going to rip me apart for the sake a community wanting to rip me apart.
They want me to go deep on you, bro. They want me to go deep on you how I do with like the Doechis and like all these other people on the internet. But it's like I have a real history.
That's not real, but that's not reality.
I have a real history with you. That's why I'm like I'm just hurt.
I mean, honestly, there's nothing Banks said here that made sense to why he would throw Aiden under the bus here. But he does go on to kind of take some accountability.
I don't blame you whatsoever. Like you tried your best. Nobody's blaming anybody, bro. I'm not saying it's your fault. To be honest with you, it's 100% my fault.
You know me, bro.
Let me get this off real quick. I should never ever have talked about any coin or any asset as like unreliable or whatever. Like I don't even know what the word is for this, but there's a reason why since this has happened, I'm on some buy Bitcoin, CryptoPunks.
There we go.
There was a time when superhero games
He's straight up a beloved developer with 200 million flaws.
were not a big deal, with some being bad. Then Rocksteady came and changed everything. Comments like this weren't just handed to Rocksteady Studios. They were earned with vision, passion, and 3 games that not only set the standard, but influenced action games for more than a decade. The Batman Arkham trilogy, but with just one title, they burned a decade of goodwill to the ground. From Untouchable.
Really? Which one? I mean... they really didn't flop. I mean, Gotham Knights was swag. I mean, I don't know if they were still even around for that, but let's see.
You're clearly the licensed game kings at this point. Is that a trend you want to keep going?
To causing the loss of $200 million. This is the story of how Rocksteady went from the top of the
see what's up with Rocksteady
industry to releasing one of the biggest disasters in modern gaming history.
You do realize the entire studio is decorated with Batman stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, my entire house is decorated with Batman stuff as well.
You still be you.
Like Batman after all this time?
Oh yeah, definitely, massively. I don't know, he's such a great character that, you know, I still love him. I still get a buzz out of seeing him and playing the games, and as a character I still get a real buzz out of seeing what other people do with the franchise and films, and you know, I'm the first person in the queue to see that stuff, so.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Rocksteady Studios.
We need more game developers that are fans of their product, not just people that just want to make money.
Studios began as a small London-based team in 2004, founded by Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker. Their debut title, Urban Chaos: Riot Response, was a riot control FPS that flew under the radar for many, quietly earning a cult following years later. But in December 2006, everything changed. Eidos Interactive, publisher of Urban Chaos, had just secured the rights from Warner Bros. And DC Comics to make a Batman game. At the time, Batman-based video games had a reputation, and it wasn't great. Some were okay, most were forgettable. But Rocksteady, they had a vision.
What the heck is that?
You're in this kind of dark universe where you're not entirely sure of anyone's motives.
From the very first cinematic, when I saw the picture, it became really clear just how dark this was going to be.
And what came next was none other than Batman Arkham Asylum.
It's over, Joe.
Beautiful.
Over? Why, my dear delusional Dark Knight.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
It hasn't even begun.
Released in 2009, Arkham Asylum dropped right as Batman's popularity was peaking, thanks to Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. It was equally dark, gritty, and mature.
What was good for us is that obviously they have a sort of similar take, the sort of kind of mature.
RIP to the people that lost their lives during the Dark Knight Rises, or Dark Knight movie. I forget which one, but RIP.
Sort of quite a dark take on Batman. It's very sort of similar to the style that we've gone for.
But above all, it made you feel like Batman. The combat was simple, yet cinematic, brutal, yet rhythmic. The writing, penned by Paul Dini, the legends behind Batman the Animated Series. The voice cast, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Arlene Sorkin. Real Batman fans knew this was the dream team. The world was
I really liked it.
carefully woven, Metrovania-inspired, dripping with atmosphere. Even years later, Arkham Asylum holds up. It's tight, immersive, and respects
beautiful
the source material without being shackled by it. If you somehow never played it, do yourself a favor. Turn off the lights, crank up the volume, and become the damn Batman. The passion and authentic feel of Arkham Asylum made it a critical and commercial smash, selling over 2 million copies in its first year, and today is nearing 10 million. But that kind of success gets noticed. In 2010, Warner Bros. Acquired the majority in Rocksteady. They now effectively owned the studio and the Batman IP. On paper, it looked like a match made in heaven. So what could go wrong?
So, you know my name. Good. Because I know everything about you. Your darkest secret. Your ultimate weakness. I know you are Bruce Wayne.
2 years later, Rocksteady delivered Batman Arkham City, taking the DNA of Asylum and unleashing it in an open world. It was bigger and improved. It sold over 12 million copies. Critics called it a masterpiece. Fans called it the greatest superhero game of all time.
At the time, yes.
While Rocksteady was rising, Warner Bros. Was planting red flags. In 2011, the industry was at war with used games, and WB's answer: lock a small part of Arkham City, a playable Catwoman section behind an $8 VIP pass, unless you bought the game new. It felt
pretty cool,
anti-consumer, cheap, almost petty, and by 2013, another warning sign appeared. Batman Arkham Origins launched, but this one wasn't made by Rocksteady. It was developed by WB Games Montreal. While still a good game, Origins felt rushed and borrowing heavily from Arkham City's map. It was a prequel but felt like a glorified DLC. Maybe these were all signs that Warner Bros. Didn't just want to make great games. They wanted to squeeze them for revenue for as much as possible. But despite the noise, Rocksteady wasn't slowing down. By 2015, they returned with Batman Arkham Knight, a technical marvel. It pushed the PS4 and Xbox One to their limits. The Batmobile, the rain-slick streets
look nice. Look really nice
of Gotham
for a freaking PS4.
A downright gorgeous world, even to today's standards. But the PC launch, a catastrophe. This is one of the worst PC ports I've ever seen. It's locked to 30 FPS and still runs like crap. It has constant stuttering and the most bare-bones options menu I have ever seen in a modern title. It was so broken that WB pulled it from digital shelves. One of the few AAA games in history to be removed from Steam post-release. Refunds were offered, patches came, and eventually it rebounded to very positive and even overwhelmingly positive on Steam. That's how strong the Rocksteady and Arkham brand was. But perhaps this was another sign. Maybe it was tight deadlines, maybe bad partnerships, maybe early signs of a studio pushed too far. Whatever it was, despite the misstep, Arkham Knight marked the end of a legendary trilogy, and it left Rocksteady on top of the industry. Under Hill, Walker, and team, they weren't just the guys who made Batman games. They were the guys you could trust to make anything great. At least players thought. As we have learned with studios like BioWare, even legends fall.
This is the end of the trilogy for us, but we've not thought too much about what's next. But I don't think we necessarily wouldn't do original IP at it either. You know, like I don't think there's a conscious decision to do that. But I think whatever it is, it needs to have that kind of richness, that that level of detail, that lore that that Batman has. So good luck finding that, I guess.
What's wrong with these burger buns? They taste perfectly delicious, but due to a production mishap, their bottoms are slightly...
Their games are really good.
After Arkham Knight, Rocksteady went quiet. The trilogy was over, the fans were hungry, and speculation ran wild. A Nightwing solo game, Catwoman, maybe even Superman or Wonder Woman.
Superman would have been goated.
Couldn't be better. DC was trying to build its own cinematic universe to rival Marvel's. This was the moment to expand the Arkhamverse and build something bigger.
For real, like Superman or Flash or something.
But nothing happened, if not for some teases. Be patient, fans. I know we are not talking right now, but when we do, people are going to lose their minds. So while Rocksteady remained silent, WB was pushing hard into gaming. Injustice, Shadow of Mordor, Mortal Kombat, even Batman Arkham VR for whatever reason. But more than their games, it was WB business practices that raised eyebrows, and not in a good way. In 2014, Warner Bros. Was caught quietly and secretly paying influencers in
PewDiePie and other YouTubers took money from Warner Brothers for positive game review. Of course they did. Come on, dude. Yeah, I really think that there's gonna be like, come on.
Including PewDiePie, thousands of dollars to promote Shadow of Mordor positively without disclosing it. And although it was quite well received, not needing that promotion at all, it was deceptive, it was unethical, and eventually it led to a formal settlement with the FTC. But it didn't stop there. In 2017, Warner Bros. And Monolith released Shadow of War, and despite being a single-player game experience, it was riddled with microtransactions and predatory loot boxes. The devs attempted to explain this brilliant new concept, but not to a great success.
Yeah, so the gold war chest and of course the gold loot chest fundamentally work in the same way, just larger and with some increasing sort of levels of rarity of what you can guarantee you're going to find in them. And they are the ones that you can purchase using the premium currency, so you can purchase gold.
This is pathetic, embarrassing, laughable. Why is this RNG loot box unlock system any better than something that isn't random? This is the same shit we have seen in hundreds of games already. Monolith later admitted that this did affect gameplay. Loot boxes and the marketplace were subsequently removed with a letter that felt almost apologetic. And when people thought it couldn't get worse, Warner Bros. Did the unthinkable. They patented the Nemesis system, a dynamic AI mechanic that made Shadow of War stand out. A system where enemies remembered your actions, climbed ranks and created emergent rivalries. It was innovative, it was beloved, and now it was off-limits to everyone else. They were going full anti-consumer, anti-competitive, and unapologetically corporate. And while they doubled down on monetization and control, Rocksteady finally made their move. August 22nd, the date was set.
Oh no.
The moment fans had waited for, the reveal of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Oh, look, it's Superman. The mighty Superman has just rescued that pilot.
What a show-off. Beat it, Spandex! We're on a top-secret assassination mission here!
No. No.
Millions tuned in, the like ratio strong, the comments overflowing with excitement. For a brief moment, it felt like the magic was back. 5 years had passed since Arkham Knight. Hype had been built up, and the premise, although disappointing for not being a Superman game, was still exciting. And best of all, Batman was back, voiced one final time by the late, great Kevin Conroy. For a fleeting moment, it felt right, but behind the scenes, things were very different.
I found a female crying in the bathroom because a man who, despite her telling him not to, was groping her repeatedly, sending her messages in the evening, And when he was drunk, he would start to fabricate stories that he was in fact sleeping with her to other colleagues.
Between 2018 and 2020, Rocksteady faced internal turmoil. Like many major studios around this time, allegations began to surface involving misconduct towards female employees and other minorities. A letter alleged that concerns had been ignored for years. Rocksteady swiftly responded in 2020 with a public statement to The Guardian, claiming that we are more passionate than ever to continue to develop our inclusive culture, and we are determined to stand up for all of our staff. The controversy came and went, and just when things seemed to stabilize, the delays began. In 2022, Sefton Hill broke the news. We have made the difficult decision to delay Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League to spring 2023. I know a delay is frustrating, but that time is going into making the best game we can. Delays can be a good thing. Sometimes more time means a better product. But then came 2023 and the first real gameplay reveal. And with it, those dreaded words: live service, always online, co-op.
Incoming Ollie!
Trash.
Out of my way.
Guess Quinn ain't holding anything back for later.
The positive sentiment died faster than a Suicide Squad member without plot armor. Gravity looking very optional in this game. There's absolutely no way this game was made by the same people who made Arkham Knight.
For real.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Penguin starts speeding around, jumping whole buildings with a pink trail behind. Gone was the dark, gritty, story-driven single-player Arkham experience. In its place, a quirky looter-shooter, bullet sponge bosses with UI elements and effects flying off anything and everything. So what exactly happened? Didn't Rocksteady get the memo that this style of games was doomed to fail? Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, Redfall, even Gotham Knights, all live service experiments, all massive flops, all made by studios known for narrative-driven single-player games. So why?
No, they fucked up on that one. I couldn't even get through the first mission.
Did Rocksteady follow the same path? You see, originally, Suicide Squad was in development at WB Games Montreal, but wasn't working out. After the financial success of the Suicide Squad film in 2016, and before live service failures became clear, WB wanted in. This was the age of Overwatch, Destiny, and Fortnite. Live service games were printing a lot of money, so the Montreal project was scrapped, and WB handed the reins to Rocksteady, while the Montreal team worked on Gotham Knights. According to a Bloomberg report, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker were excited to tackle a new DC property, aiming for a 2020 release. But then, WB executives stepped in. They pitched a live service vision, calling it the future of gaming, and Rocksteady's own internal executives, names unknown, agreed, becoming the online multiplayer game with live service content we now know. As the failures of similar games rolled in over the next few years, came the ultimate final blow. Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker left the studio. Just months after the first delay,
They left?
they announced their departure to start a new studio, 100 Star Games, leaving Rocksteady on fire. By April 2023, yet another delay, now pushing the game to February 2024. Gamers attempted to provide feedback, like removing its looter-shooter RPG mechanics, the live service elements, and to make each character more unique as opposed to just gun-wielding maniacs. But it was too late.
They're like, too late, sorry, huh?
Rocksteady only conceded on one piece of feedback, adding an offline mode post-launch. Confidence was then fading fast, inside and out. That same Bloomberg report then painted a very dark picture. A culture of toxic positivity had overtaken the studio. Criticism wasn't welcome. Doubts were dismissed. The creative vision had shifted from melee-focused combat to third-person gameplay, completely revamping the game. Team members waited weeks, sometimes months, for Sefton Hill, while he was still the studio lead, to approve even small changes. Entire chunks of the script were scrapped and rewritten. Vehicles were added, then removed. The leadership kept reassuring the team it would all come together, just like Arkham
They were just a whole mess.
had. But this wasn't Arkham. It was hell on earth, and not the fun kind. As for WB, they still believed it could be a billion-dollar franchise. So the development continued, but the developers, they knew better. With its creative heads gone and player trust shattered, Rocksteady was now speeding towards one of the most catastrophic launches in modern gaming history. January 2024,
The day, dun, dun, dun.
a month before release, even more red flags. Press previews were handed out to gaming outlets, and even they were negative, including IGN's. We played it and didn't like it. Things were looking grim. On January 29th, early access was set to begin for users who paid $100 for the Deluxe Edition. As for review copies, extremely limited. Even the
But they were mad.
biggest outlets and creators were completely left in the dark.
There's an early access period that is out in
Early access will be open.
6
Yeah.
days. 6 days if you buy like the premium version of this. And I don't know anyone who has a review code for it.
No, me neither.
Early access gamers were going in blind. But
I can order contacts in 5 minutes and get them the next.
But just 1 hour after launch, the servers went offline. The problem? Well, the game auto-completed the story upon login. Rocksteady quickly issued an apology while their engineers scrambled to fix the issues. But the players were furious, at least the 7,000 people who were actually playing it on Steam. By release day, Steam numbers barely doubled, and reviews across the board mixed to negative.
But I'm not only going to be disappointed, but I'm also going to be frustrated. Frustrated that 14 years after this genre emerged, it feels like every single release is repeating the exact same mistakes. Frustrated that $100 doesn't even buy you a complete skin on the cash shop. But more than anything else, frustrated that this genre and this business model has claimed yet another scalp. 9 years for Rocksteady to follow up on one of the most seminal trilogies in the history of video games, and this is what we got.
Ultimately, the story of Suicide Squad is quite tragic. Rocksteady took a gamble at a new model and didn't pan out. Development hell, leadership shakeups, and lack of vision left the devs scrambling to stitch together a functioning product. But some few did enjoy it for what it was, saying, "People who hate this game are dramatic. It's not the best thing ever, but it's genuinely just not that bad. Don't pay full price though." But that didn't stop the internet from blasting all of its major issues. From graphical downgrades when comparing with Arkham Knight, to poor out-of-place writing and character design,
Tell me about it. Wasn't expecting it to come in fun size.
What the fuck? To the blatant disrespect for the Arkham legacy.
You always gotta end on your best joke.
Even if Kevin Conroy hadn't passed away, this still would have been the most disrespectful way to send off Arkham Batman. This is how it happened. This is how Rocksteady Studios died. Some blamed DEI, pointing fingers at Sweet Baby for its failure. Others purely on its live service model. The rest just on plain mismanagement by both WB and Rocksteady. In the end, the issues were all of the above. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, in turn, caused WB to bleed, reaching a $200 million loss. To put that into perspective, that's more than the budget of the Suicide Squad film in 2016.
No way.
Resulting in a 41% year-over-year revenue drop for WB. But instead of shifting gears, Rocksteady stayed the course. They slashed the price by 90%, then dropped their first DLC, Season of the Joker, resulting in an amazing 3,000 player peak with outlets labeling it as unbelievably bad, void of content, and a mountain of grinding, and a complete lack of story. Players framed it as making Jared Leto Joker no longer the worst Joker in recent memory.
Put it in me. Oh, mates, bloody hell!
Season 2 somehow did even worse.
There's also this one where you can actually wear a trash bag. It's gotta be one of the most unappealing and just offensive to the eyes outfits I've ever seen as a paid cosmetic. Bear in mind, this costs $10.
By the time Season 3 launched, the game couldn't even break 300 players on Steam. By the end of 2024, multiple layoffs followed the game's and DLC failure. By early 2025, the live service was dead. Offline mode was finally added, but by then, the damage was irreversible. As a send-off, none of it mattered. All Justice League characters, including Batman, happened to be clones. It was all a bad dream, a $70 grindy fever dream. The fall of Rocksteady echoes a familiar tale, one we have seen before with studios like BioWare, tragic and honestly depressing. And while Rocksteady still technically exists, with rumors of a Batman Beyond sequel, just like BioWare, the Ship of Theseus question applies. If most of the original talent is gone, is it even Rocksteady anymore? As of now, co-founders Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, with their new studio, 100 Star Games, have recruited over 100 industry veterans, many from Rocksteady. Failure often teaches more than success ever could, especially now away from AAA bureaucracy and red tape. So maybe, just maybe, even without the DC Comics IP, there's still hope. As for WB, they went on to cancel a Wonder Woman project made by Monolith.
No, they really did?
Of war devs, shutting down their studio and doubling down on live service games, despite the amazing reception of Hogwarts Legacy, a single-player game. But that's a story for another time. Thank you for watching and for all of the support. Make sure to check out the links in my description like game.
Sitting here today, you realize that you are testifying against not only co-defendants but family members.
Yes.
Why are you?
Want 1,000.
The year's 2025 and the gaming world is at war. On one side, the general public, who doesn't get what the big deal is.
If there truly are people that are dropping off of the show, they're cowards.
They didn't like strong women. They don't like a lesbian.
And on the other side, gamers.
Well, the attacks on gamers are just beginning.
The wokest episode in television history.
At the center stands Neil Druckmann.
And all I'll say is at the end of the day, you're way less important. And some of you are not important at all. It's laughable. We send it to each other as jokes some of the time.
The beta male, the male feminist.
A once universally respected visionary. Now, the most divisive figure in gaming.
This is hilarious. I saw this on Reddit.
I'm gonna kill your kid in front of you. How vile.
Turning a game studio known for only making classics into one that only makes remasters and news headlines.
This to me does feel actually disrespectful, and I mean that legitimately.
And to think that it all started with an idea he had in college. It's 2004, and
So Spider-Man Lotus, if you guys are unfamiliar, is a fan-made film that's been in the works for quite a while. And you may be thinking, well, why do I care about this fan film? Well, the director was hyping it up to be the single greatest piece.
What's important?
The latest video game craze to sweep the United
In the earliest.
If I were to ask you what you think the most underrated Call of Duty was, what would you say? Infinite Warfare? Ghost? Black Ops Cold War, Modern Warfare 2 2022. Oh, okay. Let's not kid ourselves. I would say the most underrated Call of Duty game is one most people never even mention. One that built up so much hype just to be torn down by the trends of the time. A game plagued by poor leadership, a game plagued by bugs and glitches, and a game that despite all, innovated in ways that you'd never expect. That game is Call of Duty World War II. By the middle of Infinite Warfare's life cycle, fans were already clamoring for the next entry into the Call of Duty franchise. Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, which was bundled into a more pricey version of Infinite Warfare, thanks Activision, led fans to beg
In the earliest days of video games, pricing wasn't just
actors.
It all starts with Rose Free Insurance Check.
It wasn't. A little bit further into.
Here we go.
I finally got my claim for my car accident. They only offered me $5,000. $5 grand? I had a car accident.
Hey folks, today is Friday, August 1st, 2025. As usual, my name is Jake Baldino, here to talk about all the video game news that has been going on this week. Clearly, I'm traveling, I'm on the road because I've been checking out Battlefield 6. I got some hands-on impressions to give you guys in a little bit, but before that, some other big news. The first big story is Warner Brothers not learning their lesson. Or at least that's what it seems, because website Tech4Gamers spotted a new job listing for Warner Brothers games, specifically an executive producer for a DC Comics game with a role that, quote, is overseeing post-launch content and live service strategy, ensuring ongoing player engagement. Most people reading this as hiring for another live service game that Warner Brothers has in the works. And what's absurd about this is not just the monumental failures of a lot of live service games across the board, from Sony with Concord to a million other things, but Warner Brothers specifically, who not too recently had a huge bomb with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So people are looking at this and it's like, what are we doing? We're gonna keep trying? And honestly, I think the reality is a lot of these companies are gonna keep trying because they can burn the money. They have the capital. And honestly, for them, it's if one hits, it's worth all this trouble, because then they can have an endless money printing machine, so to speak. It's like Epic Games.
That's true.
Trying to make Fortnite 10 times and losing a bunch of money, but then when they finally do make Fortnite, they have money forever, basically. That's how I look at all these companies, and that's what they're trying to do here. What disappoints me is not only that they're trying to do this again, but also again with a DC Comics focused thing. So once again, we're gonna see some of my favorite comic book characters, probably their potential, get squandered, get wasted on some live service game. Look, it's early. We don't know anything about this game. I might sound overly cynical, but I think a lot of players are just kind of fed up with this stuff, and it's a shame to see, especially with Warner Brothers, with them doing things like canceling games, canceling the Wonder Woman game, closing Monolith Studios. It's just a lot of L's on the board lately, and this definitely is another one. I don't really have like a good ending spin to this one, so I guess maybe we should move on. But if you do want to read up on that story and everything else I talk about, of course, all of it linked in the description down below. Well, what is interesting is we did get a bunch of new game announcements this week. I think we got about 7, believe it or not. So I'm gonna run through these. If you want to check out the trailers, they are linked below. But first, we have Monster Hunter Stories 3. That's right, Capcom is still sticking to this, which is cool. Also, this is a trend with these new games announced. Some of them are kind of like re-releases or remakes, but we have Plants vs. Zombies Replanted. This is like a new version of the original PvZ game in like super HD glory. Also, Once Upon a Katamari. This is great. We haven't seen like a Katamari Damacy thing in a while, and this seems to bring like multiplayer features and just new zany, goofy antics. This one is kind of a throwback now at this point, but if you never played the original Katamari, you definitely should. They're just really fun. Also, I didn't see this coming, but there was a bunch of things in the Nintendo Direct. We can't fit them all here, but one of the most significant ones for us here on the team was Octopath Traveler 0. Check this out. This just looks really cool. A new Octopath Traveler adventure with a little bit more hands-on. You create your own character. It involves a town. I think this has potential, especially good to just see Nintendo Switch 2 getting more games. Also, another weird one is Pac-Man World 2. This is a remake of Pac-Man World 2. Like that's it. I actually remember playing the original Pac-Man World and found it surprisingly good. So yeah, I didn't ask for this. I don't know how many people did, but it's cool to see. Also, check out this one. This is Wanderbird. This is described by, as the developers, a minimalist open world action roguelike. But it's like you're commanding these giant moving castles. So you're moving these castles around, you're gathering resources, you're fighting other castles, and you're trying to expand your moving castles. Art style, charm, all that, but actually just as a concept on paper, like it's just really cool from a gameplay perspective. I hope they nail this one. Apparently this is coming in 2026 for PC. Also, check out this one. This is called Godbreakers. This is a third-person co-op hack and slash action game, and honestly, it just has a cool art style and the action looks good. I don't really have too many deep insights.
No, thank you.
It's about this one. It's coming at some point in 2025 for the platforms, but apparently there's a demo on Steam right now if you want to check it out.
Next up, look, in this day and age, like technology is constant. Gaming. Maybe way, that's where our spot program. There's a queue actually giving our.
Do you have $100? Because I'm looking for 2,000 believers who are willing to trade.
Unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant. So again, that is brilliant.org/gameranks. Click that link in the description down below for 20% off an annual premium subscription. And big thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it.
Reveal this week with like live streamed gameplay, multiplayer gameplay trailers featuring Limp Bizkit, which I like to see. I thought that was very cool. I liked seeing Limp Bizkit pop up a lot in video game stuff recently. But yes, all the cool trailer flashy stuff aside, it seems like they're bringing a lot here. We have details, we have information. We know it's getting 9 maps at launch. Battlefield Portal is going to be a big part of the sequence of the whole thing, with players having way more tools and abilities to make their own content. But most importantly, it's got a release date of October 10th. And I actually talked to Vince Zampella for our podcast, Friends Per Second. We asked them, are you going to delay it? Is that something like if the game isn't ready? And they said they're pretty confident. So yeah. And speaking of confidence, they're also putting out free open betas in August if you want to check that out. You don't have to pre-order the game or anything. I think that's a nice touch. So they're making a lot of good moves here. I think still the question remains is when is the EA stuff going to rear its ugly head? Is it going to be skins, microtransactions that push things too far? I don't know for sure, but I did want to say that up front. There should always be skepticism with stuff like this. People are excited about the new trailers because, it has some hallmarks and harkening back to Battlefield 3 and 4. But I gotta say, having played it for probably like 7 or 8 hours now at this point, it does seem pretty solid. We don't know how the netcode is gonna be overall, but like this game has completely reworked weapon, feel, shooting, movement, all that. It's got big budget graphics, sound design, destruction, but it all was fun, most importantly. And to me, it just very much felt like what it seems like they're going for on the surface with the marketing. Like it is actually that. To me, it felt like Battlefield 3 and 4, but like the next generation version of that. And to that, I mean like the amount of content, the amount of modes, the maps, the size of the maps, the details of the maps, and the destruction actually being pretty damn good this time around from what I was able to experience, and doubling down on the original class system. So like you have the engineer, the recon sniper guy, the medic, the assault, and all of that has been really, really good. It's still Battlefield, so it's very much like it takes a while. There's a learning curve, and it's a lot of like running, getting killed, and then respawning over and over and over again. But the amount of different things you can do, and now that the classes are back, meaning even if you're not good at like one-shot 360 no-scoping dudes, there's plenty of things you could do on the battlefield to help out. I like blowing up tanks. I like repairing things, so I leaned into that. But again, with like the feel of the weapons, the movement being a lot faster, but not just faster, but also just like you can mount, you can vault, you can dive on the ground. There's like way more directional movement, a lot of stuff there. It all led to just feeling like a good game to play. Again, that's just first impressions, just playing in a controlled environment. I don't know like how the netcode is going to be, how the servers are going to be, so to speak, but in terms of like what they are building, what they are constructing, the work in progress I got to see, I had fun playing it. It was way better than Battlefield 2042 at launch. I know like they fixed that game later on, but still this feels like they're going for something different. And it's, in my mind, it's okay that they're going for the glory days of Battlefield 3 and 4, because that's what a lot of people want. So if they can nail that, that's great. And from what I've seen, it seems like they're at least on the right track. That being said, it's not my final judgment, my final word, or anything like that. Like I said, the game is releasing in October, so we're gonna play it then, get our hands on it, do it before you buy that.
Before you buy. Hello. Yes. No. Wait. No. I love you too. Bye.
Whole thing. Full disclosure, EA did invite me to go play Battlefield 6, but like I didn't take a free trip or anything. I paid my own way to get there to check it out. So yeah, we're going to be talking about it more in other videos, so keep your eyes peeled. Now in other news, Sony has responded to the Tencent ripoff game, the bootleg Horizon Zero Dawn that a lot of people were calling that. So now it's official. Sony has filed a lawsuit against Tencent over this game called Light of Motoram. This trailer dropped a while back, and shout out to people who play video games, to gamers online. They always call these things out first. They were way ahead of the curve. This does look like it's taking a lot from Horizon, and it seems like Sony believes that as well. Sony is, according to GameSpot, going after Tencent, quote, for copyright and trademark infringement, with Sony demanding a trial by jury. Sony has said it's trying to prevent the release of the game. Quote, Tencent's copying of Horizon is so blatant that the public has described it as a crazy, insane, and shameless move. Along with that, Sony did talk about how they're trying to flood the market with these confusing
What the fuck? It does look like
other things that just kind of vaguely look like something. So yeah, I think it's the right move here, honestly. Obviously, that can be a slippery slope because plenty of games borrow things and ideas and even visual styles from other games. But here, with it being so blatant, yeah, I'm curious to see how this actually goes down. If it gets to court, what's gonna happen? Because we're talking about two heavyweights that just have a bunch of money and they can go at it. So.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Did you know that Mint's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back?
Let them fight. Also, I wanted to point this out. This is still developing, but a lot of people have been calling this out. It seems like some games are being taken down due to, I guess, like payment restrictions and stuff like that. So both Steam and itch.io, the indie game marketplace online retailer, has taken down certain games because of pressures from the payment processor companies, the companies that essentially allow them to sell games like, you know, like Visa, Stripe, things like that. Apparently, they legally don't want to be involved with like transactions of any games that are considered like adults only or not safe for work. And a lot of games have been suddenly taken down and a lot of gamers disappointed. Now, on the surface, people think it's just weird porn games taken down, but it seems like it's more than that. Some other games have gotten caught in the crossfire. Some games that are just experimental, weird, gory, what have you, and a lot of gamers and people out there are arguing that this is a slippery slope. Because yes, there are some games that maybe should have been taken down, games that like just are like nasty and not good. But there's of course like the never-ending discussion of like the line of like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and stuff like
you bought that game.
That. So as of right now, this is still going on. A lot of gamers are like, you know, doing what gamers do, rising up with this stuff. And also itch.io has actually brought back some of the games that have been taken down, but I think it's worth keeping an eye on. I'll link an article about it in the description down below because, again, it's not just about like some games just being like weird and like borderline criminal and maybe they should be taken down. But then it's just, it could lead to other things like just porn games. And even if I don't like porn games, but then it's like, okay, like what about like overly gory games or games that just deal artfully with like taboo topics. It all comes down to art, expression, obviously the sale of those things, where you feel. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation. We're going to be following it and seeing how it goes. Like I said, it's still developing right now. I'm not an expert at talking about this stuff, but I definitely wanted to keep you guys informed. I'm going to link a couple of different articles because honestly, it's confusing because even like the year I skipped going, Hollow Knight is actually going to be playable for fans that are willing to go to the convention, wait online. And that's great because that means it exists, right? That might mean it is actually coming soon. No solid release date or info or anything yet, but hey, if any of